You know, I need like a screen here to cover up this wall, like a breeze block screen. I mean, that's so like 1930s into the 50s, popular in the 70s in Southern California, but we could do it here. I actually did it for a restaurant, and I'm going to show you what I did. Back to the daily grind. So I'm going to show you how I made this over and over and over and over and over again. Probably better ways to do this. Yeah, probably not. One of my least favorite steps, but it has to be done. We're milling like a villain. We got to get all this rough stock down to 3/4 inch. Then I need to make some 6-inch squares, lots of them. Needed 35 total, so I think I made 40. So I had some extras and I ended up needing them. So making my jig, took a square piece of plywood and I'm adding some little strips of 3/4 inch ply to make a nice square ledge for my block to sit in. Just checking it with my square. You ever take a square to check your square to make sure your square is square? I do. So I am setting up my jig, just using some quick CA glue and then testing it. Yeah, the block fits in there real nice. And on to marking. I needed to find center of every side, center of the piece, center of the circle. Took it over to the drill press and I am drilling through the first part. Got my dado stack in here and I am just cutting right down the center. You can see that little notch. It'll make sense later. Cutting out the center of the breeze block. You can see it all laid out, looking good. And then I cut out the circles once I got everything notched and decided for a juggle break. I'm really good. Wow, that's like one of those try not to say wow videos. Ooh, try not to say, oh, I only have once. This rigid sander has come in handy on so many projects, and for these circles, the spindle bouncing up and down, easy peasy. So I like to use painter's tape because I'm going to use this jig over and over and over and over again. So I use painter's tape and CA glue to hold it in place.
You're gluing tape together?
But when I'm finished making my cuts or assembling, I can simply pop it off and then peel the painter's tape off. Easy peasy, doesn't hurt the jig, doesn't hurt the piece. And this is why I made all the marks, so I could line it up perfectly on the jig. And then I'm using some CA wood glue and some pin nails to seed that in. It gets nice and tight. Just a little tappy tappy with the hammer. Boom, a couple pins, pop, and golden. So I had to do one side, take it over the table saw and trim it. That way I'd have a flush side and I could trim the other 3 sides. Make sense? And now all of my pieces will be exactly the same length so I can frame it out. So I use this jig to put the little spokes on the wheel. Glue and brad, glue and brad, table saw, table saw, table saw. Get a nice square piece, and then here you see me peeling it off. All I gotta do now is take the tape off.
Nice.
And put it on my other jig so I can add the frame around the outside. Just lining up the outsides on my other jig, a little bit of glue, some pin nails, and we are gonna have ourselves a wooden breeze block. I love this because it's not the mid-century modern, but it is, and it's got like a hint of Scandinavian, which I love. So it's kind of a mid-century modern Scandinavian. It's awesome a design. But yeah, I love how these turned out. So just gluing and pinning. So you get the idea of how it's going to go together. And I added some 3/4 inch strips you can see as a framework, and it really beefed it up. So it made it nice and solid, and it looks beautiful in its new home at Good Kitchen and Market. Love this maple, the ambrosia. You can see some of the ambrosia streaks, just gorgeous. So we didn't stain it, we just got it all nice and polished and did 3 coats of polyurethane. There it is, and it's home. Gosh, it looks beautiful. I'd love to hear where you would put this in your house. Oh, so I had a couple more. So don't bolt, okay? And sorry that I jack around all the time. Oh, that's good stuff.